Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FSL circuit. My name's Aries, and once again, like last week, thank you very much for tuning into the stream. This is the Arena of Valor competition that's happening right now, and straight up, we're going to be having a pretty interesting matchup for you. The next game coming up right now, it's going to be RBHT Nike Girls up against Base Crew, and interestingly enough, this is the Taiwan Qualifiers, so if you want to find out more about FSL and what you missed out in the Vietnam Qualifiers, you head on down to our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also check out our sponsors. A big shout out to all of them as well. Dreamcore for our PC sponsor, Super Solid being our monitor sponsor, Yahoo as our media partner, and Aftershock as our hardware sponsor. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in and being patient. We finally got the game underway, so let's just jump straight into the draft. Alright, so there we have it. RBHT Nike Girls gonna be kicking up the draft by picking up the blue side, and we're gonna have Base Crew play on the red side this time around. So it's gonna be a best of 3 similarly to the Vietnam Qualifiers. The only difference is the grand finals for the Taiwan Qualifiers. It's going to be a best of 3, so it's not a best of 5. It's gonna be a best of 3 throughout the entirety of the qualifiers. And it looks like we're going to see Nike Girls pick up a couple of interesting picks. We already see Ross and Alsu getting banned out. We see a Zip as well as Quick Zig getting banged out on the side of Base Crew. You know, we talked a lot about all these heroes. And I think the main difference that we're going to be seeing from the Town Qualifiers and the Vietnam Qualifiers will most probably the meta which they are playing at. Obviously, you know, all of these girls are playing at the highest level in the respective servers, and it's always nice to see a little bit of a refreshing change when it comes down to draft. And it looks like we might see something that's a little bit different, right? We're gonna be seeing Valheim getting picked up on the side of Night Girls. I mean, that is something that we have seen. He's a really stable hero, not too much to really break down, really straightforward. You know, you get towards the late game, you can pretty much just perma anyone that perma stun anyone that kind of tries to get a little bit too close. And I'm excited to see whether or not we might be seeing that Lubu come in, because I know Lubu is a really huge hero, especially in that Taiwan server. And not only that, I think I remember I was actually in one of the lobbies at the start of the qualifiers, which was kind of off stream. I believe it was actually, I'm not sure which team it was, but one of the team actually picked up Lubu, so they ended up losing. But you know, it kind of shows that, you know, Lubu is still, you know, every now and then still picked up by the town. So I mean, what's not to love about him? You know, he's got Raid Stallion, he's got Impale, and the best part about, you know, Impale is that the Raid Stallion reduces the cooldown because of his passive. So each basic hit you land, or you know, landing any kind of skills, you actually reduce the cooldown of Impale by 1 second. So that's a really huge factor that you can kind of start off straight off from level 1, you know, highest DPS. He's got that lifesteal as well through Conqueror, but looks like we might not see that as of now. A little bit of a consideration on that Volkov, and I'm not too sure. We actually didn't see any Volkov getting picked up in the Vietnam Qualifiers, but we did see a couple of interesting heroes, other heroes getting picked up, and it looks like they're gonna pick up the Fennec as well. So for those who are watching from the rest of the regions, you know, if you don't understand Chinese, don't worry, I'm here to break those heroes down for you. If you're wondering, it's pretty much the same, you know. So it looks like we're gonna have the Volkov getting locked in. Alright, this is interesting. We did not have a Volkov in the Venom Qualifiers, like I mentioned, but looks like we're gonna be having that first one coming into the Taiwan Qualifiers. Remember, this is pretty much already the semi-finals, and we're gonna be having the next stream match pretty much at 3 p.m. and that's gonna be the grand finals. It's gonna be a best of 3, so hopefully we can get that on schedule as well. And I think, looking at the draft right now, we can. I would prefer Base Crew to go a little bit more aggressive. I'm not sure whether or not they want to play a little bit on the downside, pick up another warrior. It doesn't really make sense because they already got that jungler getting picked up in the opening stages of the draft. So looks like they might go for Delta, which isn't too bad as well. I mean, she has CC and she's got decent clear wave in terms of the creeps getting cleared as well. And it wouldn't be too bad of a pick. So it looks like it's going to be a Violet getting picked up. I like the Violet pickup. I think it's solid. You know, she's been picked up, you know, consistently throughout the previous games as well, coming to Vietnam qualifiers. So I'm not too worried about that. I think she's a pretty solid pickup, you know, always quite stable. And that is pretty much the draft that we are going to be playing with. Alright, there we have it. The draft locked in for both sides. That is going to be your draft for game 1 between Nike Girls and Base Crew. Alright, so for those who are wondering what's happening right now, we are having a little bit of a pause. We want to make sure that the cams are working fine. You know, make sure that we don't have any issues for this game. But looks like the draft is pretty solid. We have a Valheim, an Alice, a Fennec, and we also have a Volkov getting picked up on the side of Nike Girls, whereas on the side of Base Crew, we have an Omen Marlock. We also have that really interesting pickup, which is Varus on the side of Nike Girls. I didn't really touch about her as well. In fact, she was one of the heroes that was really highly banned coming into the Vietnam qualifiers. So that is going to be pretty interesting. So yeah, I mean, that is pretty much going to be it. And yeah, like I said, Varus is something that is pretty interesting because we didn't really get to see much of her. She was constantly getting banned out. So I'm really excited to see her getting picked up. Marlock, obviously, he has that pure damage, that first skill. Something that is going to be really tough for Nike Girls to fan off in their opening stages. They really want to go for that small little invade. Looks like it will not be able to secure that small little buff, so not too much of an issue for Nike Girls. I like the fact that they're using this Marlock really aggressively. I mean, Marlock, you do have that CC in his ultimate, so you have to be really careful when the team fight kind of starts. And if it lands the shock, that's gonna be painful. And we kind of missed out that first blood. My apologies. I was kind of doing a little bit of settings, but Alice is gonna take out straight off the back. So yup, that Marlock is definitely being very aggressive in that opening lane. We do have an Omen. Top lane. I'm gonna Vervas. We might see a second blood coming in. Pretty straightforward 1v1. I think Vervas didn't really expect that burst to come down from the Omen, obviously with the lockdown. Kind of rotation down to the mid lane as well. Ice will fall and in. Definitely popping off really early. And I gotta say, I never expect, like, you know, for the side of Base Crew to really pop off this well. Coming into the opening 2 minutes, I know they have quite a decent early draft, especially with the Marlock. But once again, Marlock goes in with the slash. We'll get that pure damage coming in. And here comes the rest of the team. They get the lockdown as well. The ultimate landing on the two heroes. They got the lockdown through the Omen. And this is a bloodfest. They are managing the damage out really well. They take out Varus immediately. And here comes Violet with the ultimate in the face of the Fennec. That's a double kill coming in. Or rather, 2 quick kills in quick succession for the side of Base Crew. They are managing these fights really well. 1.7k gold lead, 2 minutes 40 seconds, and they can pretty much go for the Abyssal Dragon if they want to, but looks like they will go back. And that's the issue that you kind of see happening for the side of Nike Ghost right now. They're kind of falling back because of the early aggression coming in, and I did talk a lot about the Marlock, and one thing about Marlock is that he's not the squishes of hero as well. You know, if he lands his ultimate, it's going to be painful. That cliff, that pure damage, there's nothing you can do to him early game. And he also has that second skill that kind of grants him that little bit of that, you know, shield when he uses his Soul Eater. So they have to be careful about coming into all these big team fights, because that Marlock is definitely going to be a pain in the neck. You do see a little bit of aggression coming on the top side, but no Siege should be able to handle this. The Omen with the lockdown as well. This is a bad situation coming in for the top laner, and no support. Once that shield goes down, they will lose him. Gets out just in time. Meanwhile, mid lane starting visible pressure. Really quick rotation coming in from the Violet at the same time, just to make sure that all lanes stay pressured. Marlock looking for the cleave as well.
A blue team tower has been destroyed.
And they will take that top lane, no contest. And Valheim, all Barrow has to do is just make sure she, you know, keeps this Violet in check. She has to farm as well. It is quite apparent that the Violet has a little bit of advantage because of her way of how aggressively the team wants to play. And that AoE of that, you know, that cleave, you can kind of see them trying to step up their aggression. They know they cannot let that lead go. And they really want to find a team fight right here. Ice with the lockdown. Didn't falling dangerously low, but here comes the ultimate from the Marlock. They get the right one as well. Violet will get the pullback. Fennec will be the first one to go down once again. And without the Fennec, that is a lot of damage missing on the part of Nike Ghost. And they are starting to grow up. Ice in a lot of trouble. That lockdown from the Omen once again locking down in place, and Varus will get a little bit of sustain. The support coming in from the top side, but that is one member down. They might get the second Q as well. Violet maybe can go for the last hit, but nope, a little bit out of range. That is 2 Qs.
Tower has been destroyed.
But that will buy enough time for the Valheim to take the bot lane, but it is not over as of yet. They will force this one and goes in for the Fennec for the third time, and that is 0 and 3. Really rough game coming from BTG, and I'm starting to feel a lot for her. She's always that prime target, and it's no wonder why. She's one of the squishiest heroes in the lineup, and it is a lot easier to take down the Fennec compared to others. I think she definitely can improve in terms of positioning in a couple of these team fights, and in the instances that she was kind of picked up. Valheim has to be a bit careful about his positioning. Gets spotted out by the Marlock, or it could be the other way around, and we might see the next team fight happen in this very jungle. They are looking for the Valheim, goes in with the jump as well with the flash, and Barrow in a lot of trouble, down to a quarter of HP. Marlock doesn't even need the slash to actually get the kill. Varus coming in the back line, has to jug up with the sustain, and no seed will come in. That Omen is dangerous low. Violet as well goes to the flash, but not enough range to get out, and that Violet will kite out of it. That's 2 down, and they will lose the Marlock, but I'm pretty sure they will be okay for it. He doesn't even lose the Marlock. The lifesteal will come in, and they get 3 and 0. They lose nothing for it, and more importantly, they can push this bot lane.
A blue team tower has been destroyed.
Base crew being very aggressive right here, and it all started out when they actually jumped. They actually went in for the Valheim, and they failed to get it, but that actually committed the dive coming in from Nike Ghost. They tried to save the Valheim, they tried to force a fight right there, right then, and the Marlock comes in with the ultimate, lands on 3. The Omen actually goes for the Varus, if I'm not too wrong. We do see the Fennec once again not being able to have enough time to farm, and all these team fights is gonna start to hurt this, you know, momentum of the Fennec. We know that Fennec needs a lot of time. He needs those stacks on that jungle item to get those damage in as well. And the longer, or rather the more aggressively, you know, base crew starts to play like that, they will start to starve all this farm. They are even trying to contest for the Siege Golem. They might just get it. No, they don't. The smite will come through for the Fennec, so that's at least something they can get. Omen split pushing on the bot lane as well, and that's going to pull the allies and the Varus coming down, but Omen definitely fed at this point of time to actually hold them off by himself. Looks like they want to force this fight down the middle lane. 7 minutes in, and they are knocking onto the base of Nike Ghost. Look at that burst damage coming to Violet as well. And they will clear up that top lane, cut away the support that Nike Ghost have. Violet gonna be split pushing on top lane. While the rest gonna be harassed. Alice falling really low as well. They do pick her up. And that is the long range threat that they have. Marlock once again diving in all by itself. It is a one-sided affair right now, and they can just take this top tower, kind of pushing right in. Oh, they get all three, and that is a triple kill coming in. They might get the fourth one as well. Once that ultimate goes down, he will go down as well. No Sid will fall, and Ice is the only one remaining. I don't think the Varas can do anything much. It's gonna be a team wipe, and 8 minutes in, man, this is one of the most one-sided fight or game we have seen so far. And boy, what a game that was. Base Crew just crushing it throughout the game. And I gotta say, that was a really rough match for Nike Ghost. Man, look at the score-wise. There's really nothing that Nike Ghost could do from the start. And I gotta say, it's really that Marlock that started the whole thing for me. If not for the Marlock, I don't think we might see something as, you know, commanding in the opening stages, where you saw with the cleave, you know, just abusing the range time and time again, and they got the Alice on the first blood in the middle lane as well, and so many instances where I thought, you know, Marlock would go down. He uses Soul, you know, or she uses Soul Eater, you know, gets those shield points. I mean, 1,200 at level 4, that's a lot of shield points as well. You know, with that cleave, he gets pure damage. And, you know, 700 pure damage, that is no joke, goes right through the armor. Nothing that Nike Girls can kind of do. And I gotta say, coming into the later stage of the game, it was so straightforward. Like, Nike Girls did not have an answer. And can you really blame that? Because it was a really flawless game right from the start all the way to the end of the game. I mean, I did not expect a game as one-sided as this. And if you look at the item builds as well, I mean, nothing too... you know, out of the ordinary. You do see a Frostcape armor coming in from the Marlock just to add a little bit more sustain. So it's a pure tank Marlock. They are purely using him as that roaming tank that we saw him kind of transit. He used to be a warrior when he was first launched. You know, he was always constantly in the top lane, and because of that pure damage, he does really well alongside the Soul Eater. He was a really good top laner, but nowadays, you know, people are starting to use Marlock a lot more in the middle lane as a support, or rather a tank of some sort, to actually support the mid mage. And what this does is that, you know, they use that cleave as a damage source, and also Soul Eater to actually tank up. And he does have the ultimate, which we saw a couple of times put Nike Girls in a really bad spot, you know, that shot coming in to just lock down the opponents. But with that being said, you know, congratulations to Base Crew. They were just dominant, and I'm still trying to find a way. I'm trying to think of a way that Nike Girls could have actually come back. Maybe a bit of a it wasn't really a draft issue. I think draft maybe in the first 5 minutes, but after that you could see them, you can see Base Crew just working off that momentum that they had in the first like 2 to 3 minutes. It wasn't even 5 minutes to begin. No Abyssal Dragons getting taken, no objectives, just purely stomping the lanes and pushing for the end game. So congratulations to Base Crew. They will pick up game 1, but this is best of 3, so it's not over yet. Our BHT Nike Girls definitely do still stand a chance in this matchup. We'll go for a short break, but when we are back, we will bring you game 2 between Nike Girls and Base Crew. Alright, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for waiting. Man, what a game one that was. For those who just didn't stream, you missed out. What a dominant game coming up from Base Crew. And that was our game one of the day. It's Base Crew up against Nike Ghost. But the draft has already begun, so let's not waste any time. Without further ado, let's just jump right into the straight up. We're gonna see that hero getting banned. Now, I mean, you can't really blame the Darcy was pretty much just dominating the entire game, and it's hard to actually deal with Darcy. The thing about Darcy is that he's actually a really slow hero, but he does have very high damage output. Like we saw, using that dimensional cube, he's able to just go in and actually just get the lockdown. And not only that, his ability to lock down mobile heroes actually prevents the Fennec from getting off a lot of time, and that's what we kind of saw coming into that game one, where the Darcy was just time and time again just aiming onto the Fennec, and there was actually just no way that Nike Girls could have done anything about it. And so this time around they want to ban it out. Looks like they're not picking up for themselves. Base Crew, they used the Darcy really well, but it's time to say goodbye to it. They're gonna ban out the Quick Seek as well. They're gonna pick up Zip for themselves, and looks like Nike Girls are banning out the Valheim and Elsu. So looks like Elsu is pretty much a target ban. Maybe something they know that I don't. But touch a little bit about Darcy and what happened in game one. Basically, it was a very one-sided game, right? We saw the side of Base Ghost actually do really well in the opening 2 minutes, using the Monarch to pressure the mid lane, not allow any space whatsoever for the Valheim to farm. I mean, they did leave the Valheim for the first 5 minutes alone in bot lane, but it wasn't like the Valheim was dominating. It wasn't like the Violet had any trouble. The moment that the Violet kind of just cleared the bot lane, she was instantly in the jungle, getting creeps, starving out the Fennec alongside the team. So really quick rotation overall, and I think it's a combination of not only that early game draft, but the way they use the draft. So it's always important to know that you may have a really good draft, but if you don't use the draft according to how it's already, you don't rotate to how the draft really benefits, then you kind of lose the effect. But in the case of Base Crew, they did not slip up one bit, not even one. I mean, perfect game. I think it was what, 12-0 and 16-0, something like that. The game just happened so quickly. But Nike goes this time around a little bit of a difference in terms of draft. They are picking up the Joker. Opinion wise, I think Joker does really well. The fact that he does have that little bit of a dash back after he uses his ultimate does allow him to play a bit more defensively. He does have that rocket as well, which has very high burst. So maybe they want to put a little bit more distance between them and the side of Base Crew, which I think is a really good idea. You can see Base Crew, they're really comfortable with melee heroes. Not only melee heroes, but they're really comfortable with close combat. Just looking at the choices of heroes, you can kind of tell that as well. They're going to ban out Valentino as well. You do see the Rook getting banned out. You do see the Valheim getting banned out, Varus as well. So these two teams are banning out heroes which they generally play themselves, which I don't know, it's pretty interesting. And I think the focus right now is to actually, kind of identify what can really turn the game for them. Because coming into the game one, it wasn't like they did. I wouldn't say they didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you could question a little bit of the positioning, especially defending, knowing that there is a Darcy on the opponent's team that can kind of lock you down with the dimensional cube. Not only dimensional cube, but with the portal you can actually just go in. He has high AP burst, and it just works really well against squishy MMs, and that was exactly what they did. But more importantly, how can they actually prevent that early game trashing? Because because of that early game, it was just so hard for them to actually buy back whatsoever. Like, there was actually absolutely no way they could have come back into the game because of that early game advantage that Base Crew kind of had. So I would suggest picking up heroes that can kind of delay. If the opponents are so aggressive in the early game, maybe pick up something like a Joker. Joker works really fine as well. You're gonna have to position the Joker really well, because if they don't go for your for the Joker, there's someone else that's gonna be the target of the map. And this time around they pick up the D-Rock, which I do like. D-Rock one of the newer heroes that we see coming in, being introduced into the game. I think he has decent amount of burst. I haven't really played him too much myself. I have seen a lot of people play Dirac over the past couple of weeks, but he's in my opinion not say a really high skill cap hero, but he's a really situational hero. Like, you gotta make sure that you use him in the really right time and space. If you engage wrongly for even 1 second, I think that could be a really bad spot. And obviously with that zip as well, it's gonna be something that's that, you know, base crew have to be very confident about, you know, instantly picking up the zip. I mean, he has angry, and the fact that he's able to, what we saw from the Vietnam qualifiers, if they're going to be using it the same way that, you know, the Vietnam players actually use it, I think that's something that's going to be really scary to think about. The fact that you can kind of just stack your waves, you can kind of, you know, use her to rather use him to actually delay those fights. You can save your teammates at the last time. He's got really good initiation. He's got really good disengages as well. So it's a really good sword issue, and I do see why they kind of focus on it. They do ban out the Murad because they don't really want someone that can just jump to the back and kind of catch up, you know, that the MM, and then it becomes a really bad fight, which we kind of saw happen last week. So that is something that they are preventing, or rather trying to prevent from happening, hence why Murad is getting banned out. I'm surprised to not see that Murad is banned out early in the game, but, you know, better late than never. You do see the Murad getting banned out now. So that is your draft coming into game 2. And I think the one that they have to look out for is still going to be, I'm still going to put the focus onto the Joker. I think if the Joker can get into that late game, I think it wouldn't be too bad. But I think the Crit Knock is going to play a really huge role for the side of base crew as well. I think if they can get the Crit Knock for the side of base crew to farm really well into the game, he's someone that can still jump onto the Joker, still shut him down, you know, prevent him from farming too much. So that is going to be the draft coming into game number 2. The Liliana sitting down in the mid lane. And I'm looking at the side of base crew, and I see a lot of burst damage. I see the fact that they can kind of afford to put the Liliana down the front line, and go in with the ultimate, and do the burst damage, and then use the zip to actually disengage if needed. You know, if there's something wrong with the Liliana, something that they have to disengage, they always have that zip. So I like the fact that they pick up the zip. Over to the side, I wouldn't say it's a lost cause. I mean, it is still pretty even draft in my opinion. Although Nike goes, I'm not feeling too good about that Zephyrus. I'm not sure if he can actually scale well enough into the mid game to actually deal with that burst potential. Because when you look over the side of base crew, they have so much confidence in picking up an early game draft. You know, heroes that can get gold from level 4, can actually just start a team fight, can you know, they don't really have to worry too much. And speaking of level 4, that Crit Knock is level 4 now. You can see he's gonna be using the ultimate. They're gonna be looking for a kill. And looks like they might have that target. They will jump in, and that is a really quick first blood coming in. Nike goes once again, giving over that first blood to base crew, and that is the start. That is the reason why I mentioned about the Crit Knock. If they can get this Crit Knock to perform really well, or rather it's the other way around, the Crit Knock can, you know, perform really well by herself, she can actually determine the entire game. They tried to go for a little bit sneaky steal on the Sentinel. Not gonna be finding anyone as well. And now that focus is gonna be that Abyssal Dragon, but if the previous game is going to be suggestion of anything of any sorts, they are not going to be going for the Abyssal Dragon. They definitely want to go for those ganks in lane and then go for objective. You can see, oh my goodness, that burst coming in from the bot lane. That yawn. And yawn is something I wasn't expecting. I gotta say, yawn is something that I wasn't expecting coming in, because it's been such a, in other regions it's not really highly prioritized because of the positioning. I guess this is why they kind of pick up the yawn as well, because of that zip, and they do have a lot of burst damage with the yawn. So that is something that kind of just suggests that mentality and the playstyle of base crew is that they want quick engagements, right? They want something that can end within 10 seconds. You go in, you use the yawn, use every single one of the skills. You have the crackdown, go in for the Joker, and then you have the Lana in the front line as well. And if anything goes wrong, right? If anything really goes bad, or rather goes south for the side of base crew, they have that zip to always disengage with Angry. Do you see Zeph is coming in with the stun, Lana coming up in front as well. They are doing this engagement really well. Once again, the Joker will go down. Barrow still sustaining by a little bit. Doesn't last too much. John still in the back line. And they're using that range to actually zone them out. Ooh, the ultimate. Nearly picking up the Lana, but just lacking the last hit. We're going to see who come down from the top side. Top lane is having a very peaceful lane, so without any objective or rather clear objective on the map to take, it looks like base crew will settle for the Abyssal Dragon. And I want to see how this Annette will play, right? Obviously, she does have a lot of burst damage, or rather AoE control, and she does have a little bit of a displacement with the tornado as well, but how are they going to use this Annette? Because at this point in time, you look at base crew, they are very aggressive in terms of ganking. And Annette doesn't really excel against ganking lineups as well. She does excel in team fights, which is why they kind of picked up, heroes like the Joker, who can stand the back line. They kind of picked up that, Zephyrus to actually deal with that front line as well. And then obviously they have that, not that Darcy, but they also picked up someone in Dirac to actually have a lot of burst damage in a short period of time. So they are willing to stand firm. With the draft, they're kind of like making that statement, like, we are prepared to have that team fight, because we have we have that Dirac with his ultimate to actually have that good team fight. But it looks like we might see a really bad one here. The zip just gonna make sure that there is no one in that brush, gonna be clearing up that wave. And both sides going to resume farming. Quicknut going to be revealing herself down the mid lane as well. And meanwhile, top side, a little bit of engagement coming. Ooh, nearly going down. And the top side just having a little bit of fun by themselves. Both heroes going to be clearing up the lane. Meanwhile, bottom side, and Zeph is looking for the right target to actually jump on, or the Zen is trying to look for the right target to jump on. Not being able to find anyone, will have to back off. And this Yawn and Joker matchup hasn't been like what I kind of expected it to be. It's been really brutal for both sides. They are just purely trying to go up against one another. They do manage to secure that bottom lane for the side of base crew, so that is something that is kind of expected because of the yawn. Something the Joker can't really deal with heroes that can clear really quickly, because he has that, I mean, compared to yawn, he does have a lot more cooldown, and obviously with the passive of yawn, he can definitely clear the waves a lot quicker. So that's why he's kind of he's getting the bullied lane. They do get the second Abyssal Dragon of the game. And here comes the Invade Zip as well. Gonna be taking away that buff. Using Angry, just gonna be resetting that one. Annette down the middle has to be careful about the positioning. And here comes the top laner as well, taking a couple of shots from the tower. But that is not the primary target. They have the yawn. And look at how much damage they are taking. Even without that engagement. Quicknut nearly picking up that top laner right there. They will reset. But that space does allow them to actually just go for the top lane. So nothing really between these two teams coming from that middle engagement. Just gotta make sure that they do push the side of Nike goes back to the base. And that's gonna be the yawn taking up that top lane as well. And now they want to have that fight down the middle. Chu and In coming down to middle side, gonna be clearing up the wave really quickly. And I really like this zoning effect coming in from base crew. Like, even without winning a team fight, although we might see some one-on-one action on the top side, that Quicknut will pick up knows it, and that is a vital pickup in my opinion, because that just allows the creeps to push up the top lane. They might get something in the middle as well. They're not gonna be focused on objectives. Look at how quickly they take those towers with that yawn. They know they don't have to have sustain. They just need that burst damage. And at this point, they're even fat enough to just soak up Dirac ulti. And that is definitely not a good sign, you know. That is not something that Nike Ghost will be too happy about. But it's not like they can do anything. They need a couple of slip-ups coming in from base crew. They need a little bit of luck on their side as well in terms of positioning. They do spot out Zip, but even if they spot him out, there's nothing they can do at this point, because they need a good pickoff on either the Lianana or maybe even the Yawn to actually stop that, you know, hyper farming coming in. Krigna going in for the... And that nearly falling down there, has to be careful. That's the boomstick coming up as well. And a lot of major items coming up. Krigna getting up that rank breaker. And oh, there's absolutely no way she survives. Yes, she does. They're a little bit out of range for that fight, but they will pick up someone else. They will pick the Xandis up as well. And once again, all Darcy can do is just launch the ultimate, hope for a stray Q. But no one's even low on the side of base crew. That is the issue. They have no sort of engagement whatsoever. And it's like base crew is just setting up this iron curtain around the Yawn. And it's just making it so hard for the side of Nike Ghost to find engagement and so they don't have someone that can dive in like base crew, you know. They don't have a Zip, they don't have a quick now that can kind of just go in and do the burst damage. They do have the Xandis, but I mean he's a late gamer. He needs that time to farm. But looking at how base crew are playing, they are not like they're not giving any space whatsoever. They're just putting a lot of pressure in the jungle. They're forcing ganks out. And when they take that Dark Slayer, they will force that fight down the middle lane. They're doing a really good job at clearing up the jungle as well. All this jungle thicks, right? It's just gonna starve out even, you know, starve out Nike Ghost more and more. Now we do see the Dark Slayer getting taken up. They are now just heading down to bottom jungle. Look at that, Spoon's coming up as well. And Krigna joining into the fight, using that Swamp just to remind the Joker about his positioning. They will force that one ball. Look at how quickly Yawn is taking them down. They nearly picked out Darcy as well. Has to go back for the regen. And they're just going to maintain this momentum. They're just going to split push down the middle and bottom lane. And there's absolutely nothing they can do. Get a stun come in. Krigna just waiting for the opening. They release the Drake down topside. So they're pushing up all three lanes. They're gonna leave down in the bottom lane, and the Drake's just gonna be pushing down the mid. They've already cleared down the middle as well. And without the Xandis, especially with the Drake as well, they are pushing the top side. They have an entry point right now. Can they force a fight right here? Krigna going in. Oh, there's a brave entrance coming from Nat. She will sacrifice herself, but is that enough? The Drake's at the front line. Lena coming in with the stun as well. The ultimate will blow them up, and that is a 2-0. 8-0 as of now, and they are knocking onto the base. They got two base turrets, but they don't even need those base turrets. They just want to end the game right here, right now, and there's nothing they can do. 1/4 HP, the Joker will go down, and with that being said, it is a really quick 2-0 coming in from base crew. I mean, once again, clinical from base crew, no mistakes whatsoever, not a perfect game, lesser kills, but that's because of the draft. You know, they pick up a Yawn, they pick up a draft that's a lot more suited for zoning, and this is what they did really well. They zoned out Nike Ghost, and this time around, instead of ganks, I mean, the Krigna did get a couple of good kills in, don't get me wrong, you know, 4-0-3, but it was really making the draft work around Yawn. The fact that base crew were more than happy, or rather more than confident, to actually just put that draft right in the face of Nike goes and literally let the opponents know, like, you know what, there's nothing you can do about this draft. You know, if you want to come in for the fight, we have that Crick Nut going to be stopping you. If you don't want to come in for the fight, so be it. You know, we're gonna have that yawn push all the way down the bottom lane, and by the time you're ready to fight, we have already moved on. We have to move on to top side, and that was a lot of instances where we saw, you know, base crew just so quick in that rotation, and it's so scary to see, you know, teams so coordinated in split pushing. Not only split pushing, but, you know, just diving, not even diving the base, just zoning the opponents out, clean things throughout. Like, there was absolutely no chance. Like, what can you do? You know, you put that Zenith and he's just gonna get destroyed. If you put that Joker and too aggressively, that Crick is gonna jump on him. You know, and at that point of time, by the time, you know, Darcy has any damage in his kit, you really see base crew being, or rather, I would say fed enough, but having more than enough items to just ignore the damage. Either one, ignore the damage, or two, just soak it up and just push down the middle lane. And this is what base crew did. I mean, I'm starting to have a favorite in FSL. I gotta admit, but congratulations to FSL. Unfortunately, for the side of Nike goes, this is the end. And I've got good news as well. The results from the other side of the semifinals is that, you know, MSQ actually managed to beat Mars Goes 2-0. So wouldn't say it's the smoothest journey for MSQ. They did manage to beat TS 2-1 coming into the first game of the day, the quarterfinals. So we will have our final set. It's gonna be base crew up against MSQ. I'm really excited for it because I think these two teams will have pretty decent. I'm gonna take base crew just because I saw how dominant they were up against Nike Goes. But with that being said, we'll go for a short break. But when we are back, it's gonna be the grand finals for the Taiwan qualifiers of the FSL circuit for AoV. My name's Aries. We'll go for a short break, but when we are back, we're gonna give you the grand finals. We'll see you right after this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the FSL circuit. Once again, my name is Aris and I will be casting for the AoV portion of the circuit itself. It's the Taiwan Qualifiers, and if you've just joined the stream, you missed out an amazing match between Base Crew and Nike Girls. But we are into our grand finals. It's gonna be a best of 3 between Base Crew and MSQ. So MSQ, had a really good, I would say, run as well. They came all the way down to grand finals. They beat 2-1, they beat TS 2-1, they beat Mars goes 2-0. So pretty dominant run as well. Same goes for Base Crew. They managed to beat TNNSQ, and then they managed to beat RBHT Nike Girls, which we saw in the previous matchup. But now the teams are already into the draft, so let's just head right in. And there we go, we have the draft up on your screen right now. We're gonna have Base Crew on the blue side, and we're gonna have MSQ on the red side. Looks like we're gonna see L'Oreal getting banned out. We also see Varus getting banned out, Zip, Trixie getting banned out. We do see a Cricknut currently on log. I think Cricknut will be really good. I mean, we saw Cricknut getting picked up in the first game or in the second game, and the way they used Cricknut was they actually used Cricknut to lock down the Joker per se, and it was actually picked up by Base Crew in the first game. So I'm sure the MSQ might have picked up on that, either that or they just want to ban out Cricknut, which in general is just a really good jungler. He's one of those junglers that at level 4 I think is one of the most punishing ones, the highest amount of burst, although his clear speed is only pretty decent if you compare to the other junglers that's available in the hero pool. But more importantly, if you have been watching FSL, big shout out to our sponsors as well: Dreamcore, PC sponsor, Super Solid, our monitor sponsor, Yahoo for being our media partner, and last but not least, Aftershock as our hardware sponsor. So now we are finally into the second phase of the base. Really quick draft coming up so far. Hayate getting banned out from the side of Base Crew. We also I'm looking for heroes which I think would be a shocker per se. I think something that we don't really see outside the pick. And when Darcy get banned out, it's just something that I'm really too surprised. I think Darcy is just in general a really good pickup. We talked about his ability to use dimensional cube at the right time, your ability to lock down the ultimate and just blow someone up as well. This is something that we saw in game 1, where Base Crew actually used the Darcy to take out not only the Slims, but also, or not the Slims, but the Fennec, but also at the same time, he's a really good counter against Slims as well. In fact, any hero that has kind of like a hop or a stun, or not a stun, but a skill that can kind of get them away from the position, like something like a dash or a flicker per se, it's really good to use Darcy to lock down. So that's the reason why they actually picked up, or rather ban out the Darcy. Maybe they want to pick something that's a bit more mobile, maybe a Violet as well. Violet's not really picked up yet, but looks like they might go for the Yon. So it looks like Yon is a really big hero, or rather really big meta hero in the Taiwan server, not so much in the Philippines, right? Over in the Philippines, or maybe even the Philippines and Vietnam, because in the Vietnam server, we saw a lot of Violet being prioritized. Over here, I think they like to use Yon as someone that can zone. So Yon is someone that is really good in terms of zoning, in terms of a high level burst. And the good thing about Yon is that he doesn't really need too much items from the get go. Yes, you still need a little bit of farm because he's quite a farm dependent hero, but the ironic thing about Yon is that every 5th shot that you use on Yon kind of triggers his passive, which is called 5th shot for those interested out there. But what that does is that every 5th shot you trigger a kind of like a burst, like a shot, a lot of shots coming out, and each one actually does like 75 physical damage. So you get like 6 per level as you increase. So that burst only works even better when you consider the fact that you have explosive arrow. You have his second skill, which is heavily barrage. So you have very high clear speed, and what that does is that it kind of forces the opponent to think, okay, are we prepared to go in to take the fight, or are we gonna sit back? And even if you want to go in for the kill, the thing is that they have a crit knock, and picking up an Arthur would be really good as well for the side of MSQ, because what this does is that they have someone that's a frontliner. Arthur's ulti out there. It's one of the most punishing stuns that you can get. He's really tanky. Yeah, you don't need too much items to really get him going as well. So I think if you put all in all, it's really good. They also pick up a I'm not too sure about the Zeal ban. I think they don't want something they can burst. So yeah, they ban on the Zeal. They ban out a lot of heroes. In fact, they can it's really good in terms of ganking. So they ban out Zip. They ban out Quick Zip. All in all, it's just to really protect the Yawn. I feel in general a couple of them are quite irritating, but in general I think it's really to prevent that. To really prevent that gang coming in. And over to the side of if you look at base crew's draft, pretty interesting. In fact, I would say it's if you were to compare both sides, I think they generally have pretty decent drafts. I think they might be a lot more zoning focused this summer. I mean, you do see the Yawn over to the other side, so there's nothing much that you can really do about that. But I think in general they are just really confident about finding that draft out. We might have to see, because the way base crew are playing, they are really quick in the rotations. They are really quick in terms of how they want to take towers, and it's not even objectives in general. Like we see, like they're more than willing to just give up not say towers, but they're more than willing to actually just give up Abyssal Dragons, Dark Slayers as well. They actually picked up the Dark Slayer and Abyssal Dragons only in game 2, and that's only because with the Yawn, they were actually pushing way ahead, and it kind of reached a standstill point where they could not break into the base. So they kind of needed the Dark Slayer buff as well as the Drake that slaying the Dark Slayer gives. To actually provide as a frontliner. So that's the only reason why they actually went for the objective. But other than that, I don't really see them going for objective. I think they will kind of stick to their game plan, play a bit more aggressive in terms of just trying to out damage their opponents and just, wreaking havoc by taking those lanes. So it looks like we're going to see an Elsu coming on base crew as well. I think Elsu and Marlock both are really good. I mean, we talked about the Marlock in game 1 where, you have that pure damage or something that's really hard to deal with. Elsu, you know what's coming out from Elsu. That long range that's really hard to catch out. You just got to worry about that Quick Knock. I think that Quick Knock is something that is that poses the most threat per se to that draft. I don't think they should be too worried about the Quick Knock if they can kind of keep the distance away from the rest of MSQ. I don't think that would be an issue. They also kind of have a T to help them as well. I think T is just in general pretty good in terms of positioning per se. I think it does help in their lineup in terms of how they want to engage. But we do see a pause as usual because we really want to make sure that everything is all right. Make sure that the players are the correct players. Also make sure that everything is beside. So talking about T, I didn't really talk too much about her just now, but I think T is just really good. You do get a lot of ability damage on her. She does have that dash using the physical control, or rather using Star Chaser, which is kind of like a physical control. You do have a bit of stuns as well. And it's like a mini stun. It's not really a stun per se, but it does provide a little stun. So we're gonna see Drew down in the middle, alongside In. And as usual, gonna be using that cleave just to, push that wave out, clear it really quick. Maybe try to peel a little bit for that mage. And they are a little bit late going into the jungle. I think they tried to steal away from the Quick Knock. So you can see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to prevent the Quick Knock to hit the level 4 before their laner, and they did manage to pick up that creep. So that gives Marlock level 2. That's gonna allow them to scale a little bit more distantly with the mage as well. We do see a Rogue Z down on the top side. So Rogue Z is really good against tanks. Obviously, you have that you have ultimate which can kind of trap someone. You do have that burn on the floor, which is so irritating to deal with. And if she does manage to catch out Elsu, not that it should happen, it should not happen in any case, because Elsu will be way far behind, then you have a difficulty of trying to save that L sweep, because all she's gonna do is just use the second skill, first skill out of there, and that's gonna be quite a headache for them. But looks like they wanna rotate down to mid lane. Elsu's gonna be coming up to the top side as well. That kind of gives Omar down the middle, or rather the opportunity to rotate down the bot lane to kind of clear up the yawn. So do you see a little bit of the fight on the top end? Lupu obviously pushing up. And we did speak about Lubu as well. I think Lubu is a really good hero. We were talking about his Red Stallion and how it works with Impale. And the fact that he has Sustain is going to work well against this Roxette. Granted, he's still level 3, but with this wave, he's definitely going to hit that level 4. But the fact that Rosette hits her level 4 first kind of allows her to leave the lane and actually provide cover in the mid. So the way that base crew usually works is that they want to get that level 4 first, especially on all their heroes, so that they can be a lot more aggressive in rotation. But because Roxette just does so well against Lubu from the get-go, because of a burn, the fact that she can clear wave a lot quicker, she does have the ability to leave a lane first. But now with Lubu hitting level 4, it's going to be all even up. We haven't seen a single first blood yet. I mean, both teams are tied pretty evenly. In fact, equal at 3 minutes mark, both 6.5k. We don't see anyone dying yet. We do Quixie in the middle. You do have that little bit of that safety. So I think both sides are playing pretty safe. I don't see anyone taking too much of a risk, although the first Abyssal Dragon will go to the side of base crew. I think base crew are kind of struggling to bully them out because of how I would say safe MSQ are playing. They're not making any mistakes. They don't look like they're slipping up any moment. And they have pretty decent clear wave. I mean, you have Ruggs at the top, you have Quixie down the middle. Yawn's a really quick wave clearer as well. We might see the first team fight coming in. Marlock jumping down the middle, catches all 4 out, and that's a really good ultimate. But is that the area that they want to be in? Look at that, the Yawn just blows everyone's up. Quixie gonna be using the ultimate as well. It might be a team clear. They get one more kill, and they will claim the Marlock at the same time. They do not even get the Omar. And that is a terrible team fight for base crew. They managed to get the stun in, and they don't even get the snipe off, and now Quixie is gonna be able to set the Q up. But they don't even need it. Yawn just gonna lay a bit of damage down tower. Look at how quickly he's taking up. But down to one last range creep, and they will back out. I mean, that was a really good team fight coming here. I mean, the model did manage to land on 4 members on the side of MSQ, but what happened after that was just amazing. Omar coming in with the stun, all of them kind of grouped up. You saw the T coming in as well. Same goes for the mage, and I don't really like that. The fact that your opponents have a Yawn, they have an Omar, they have a Cricknock that can kind of deal with that burst damage. If you don't wipe out their front line in like the first 3 seconds of getting that Marlock ultimate in, they're gonna hit back really hard, and that was the situation that we saw coming out from the side of MSQ. And with so much mini stuns, there wasn't really much of a reply coming in, and that's the risk that you play when you kind of group up against the draft of MSQ. And that was just a really good fight. I mean, no panic whatsoever. They trusted the draft. They didn't really have to commit too much. They got 3 kills there. I'm just gonna spin out of that as well. Christmas is over, but not for MSQ. Looks like they are still parting the year away. Lubu still the top lane, still being held in place. Not much that he can kind of contribute into the early phase. Same goes for Roxette. Both are just concentrating on just dominating their lane, or rather keeping their lane safe, and then trying to push down the mid. But you do see the Roxette is starting to put a bit of damage down onto the top lane. Oops, and bottom Q with that Cricknock does get picked out. They might get a return Q though. They definitely do want it. Omar with the stun does get the minute stun down. Ultimate will come in as well. And I think Marlock should be able to get out just in time. Yes, he does get out of range, but with the rest all being really low in HP, they might have to drop back. That's going to be the bottom tower going to MSQ. So they do lose the Cricknock, but that is pretty much even trade by taking up the first tower. Meanwhile, top lane still pushing, still at a deadlock between the Lubu and the Roxette. And boy, is this a tough game for the crew. But now they will be able to get the return. You do see Omar getting stunned up by the Marlock as well. Comes in with the ultimate. They do manage to pick up the Omar. And T will be the one to secure that kill. And it looks like they kind of want to start the Sentinel, but there's not much they can do at this point. Also on the top lane, got up against the Quick Knock as well. Does get the jump off, tries to snipe with the ultimate, but doesn't really find his mark. Meanwhile, mid lane, you do see the Lubu trying to split push for a little bit. Roxette's there to kind of counter push as well. Pretty even trade, I would say. I mean, we haven't really seen too much from both sides. I've seen too much in terms of differences. And as long as this Roxy is able to contain the Lubu, there's not much that he can do. He's just half a level above the Lubu as well, which kind of says how well she is in terms of clearing those waves. And you do see T become the rank breaker. That's gonna provide a little bit of a burst damage coming in. Omar spots her out. Marlon dropping dangerously low. Will be able to knock out both the Quixie as well as Quick Knock, but the Quick Knock's already far and away. Impale coming for Lubu, a little bit out of range, doesn't find its mark. And here comes Quick Knock re-engaging back onto Lubu, down to a quarter HP. Conqueror already on cooldown. And Marlock, both sides are pretty hurt, but I gotta say MSQ definitely high on HP, and there's a pause coming out from the side of base crew. I mean, that was a pretty even fight. You see the Marlock coming in, getting a stun on both the Quick Knock as well as the Quixie, and the Quixie just dropped the ultimate. You know, they tried to burst down the Marlock, but Marlock, obviously you have the Soul Stealer, so he will be able to kind of sustain with that shield. And then the Quick Knock was actually dangerously quite low. We do see the Lubu trying to go with both the Red Stand and Impale, but Impale just a little bit short of that range. And then, you know, with both sides just dropping dangerously low, I think neither willing to kind of commit fully to the fight. Both kind of just broke out, although I gotta say, in terms of aggression, you know, MSQ definitely pressing that last few damage coming in, and they were not able to get any kill, but I think with that, they're gonna send 3 members of base crew back to the base to heal up, and MSQ can kind of just go and split push on the top lane. You do have T still pretty healthy, but I mean, if the Omar and Crane really want to, they can kind of just dive, and the Yon can just clean up afterwards. So that's a risk that, you know, if base crew want to defend the top lane, they might risk both. They might risk losing both T as well as the top turret. And I was speaking about, you know, Roxy as well. You know, the fact that she has Wildfire and Blazing Shield, that does give her that, you know, ability to just go and soak up damage with the Blazing Shield. And then you know, the very thing that concerns me is that she has Agnes grabs, and what this does is that she can just immediately take someone out in an instant. Like, she can just drop it on whoever it is, you know, and maybe it's the Marlock, maybe it's the Aosu, maybe it might even be, you know, the T as well. The fact that she has the ability to take someone out in an instant is pretty scary, because then suddenly it becomes a 4v5 fight, and you know, you have a Saphira that cannot afford to get stunned up. If not, you know, she just gets burst down immediately. And the key thing for Saphira is that she needs to drop that Tide of Life. If she can, you know, if she can kind of sustain for the team, and that was the reason why they were, like, base crew were able to sustain the fight, was that she had Tide of Life. If she did not use the Tide of Life in time, I think that wouldn't have been a pretty decent fight. But as the game kind of drags on and on, I kind of start to favor I'm sure I'm a mixed feelings, because I like base crew's draft, But the way MSQ are playing, they are just counting a lot on Yon towards the late game. And the thing is, Crixie's damage also counts a part. I mean, Crixie's damage to me is does skill a lot better in terms of she does provide decent amount of damage at start. She has a CC in the kit as well, so she's always useful. Like the fact that she has a stun in the crit means that she's definitely not gonna fall off late game. And if the opponents don't really go for magical defense, then when she drops that move fall, it will hurt base crew's draft. So I think that's something that base crew have to be aware of. So in terms of draft, I do like base crew because they have that stun, they have that big CC coming out from the Marlock, they have that long range coming out from the Elsu. At the same time, they also have they also have that really decent engagement with the Sephora and the sustain coming from Lubu. But in terms of burst damage and the fact that they have a Roxy to kind of go in and immediately change it into a 5v4 fight, I think MSQ has the upper hand. And as the game starts to go on and on, I think MSQ should be able to blow base crew out of the water. I'm not sure if I'm right any sorts. We haven't seen Elsu kind of pop off yet. Elsu does need a little bit more time to farm items, and the fact that Yon's a way decent, I would say, early game compared to Elsu, and that he can kind of take objectives way easier as well because of his passive. That's something that MSQ have going for them. So we are in an extended pause, but I'm sure that once the players are up and running, we should be able to get the game underway for you. But for now, if you're interested in FSL, you want to know more about FSL, and I think we also have the League of Legends qualifiers that's happening for Thailand. I don't want to get my facts wrong, but I think that's the one that's happening right now. But if you're interested to find out more about FSL, how the circuit kind of works, you can actually head on down to our social media on Facebook as well as Instagram. That's where all our details are. And remember to mark your calendars because we are having the FSL Elite on the 5th to 6th of March, and it's going to be happening right here in Singapore, with the top 4 teams from Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, and one more from the combined regions of Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines will fight for the FSL AoV title. And if you kind of forgot, FSL actually has 2 circuits this time around. I wouldn't say 2 circuits, but it's it's definitely 2 circuits. So the first one is from January to June, and the second one will actually run in the later half of the year. And we are having 4 titles this year round. So yes, right, you heard it, 4 titles. We have 2 mobile games. That's gonna be AoV as well as Mobile Legends. And then for the PC platform, we have League of Legends as well as Dota 2. So that is double the opportunity that we had last year. Same goes for the prize pool. Last year we had $2,500 for the FSL Elite, and this year it's actually $4,000. And we also have the individual prizes for the qualifiers for different regions. So once again, a big shout out to Dreamcove, our PC sponsor, Super Solid as our monitor sponsor, Yahoo as our media partner, and Aftershock our hardware sponsor. And that is those are our sponsors as well. Big shout out for you guys for staying on stream. And remember to mark your dates, like I said, for FSL Elite, because that is gonna be sick. So we are waiting for the games to kind of go on, or rather resume, because I think they do have a little bit of an issue on their end. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the draft right now, if we do have time to break down, because we are in the extended pause, so I want to touch a little bit more on the draft. I think in terms of engagement wise, if MSQ can get to the back line, because the one thing I see so far is that the Krignac is constantly caught out even before he can actually get to the Elsu, which is kind of the key target of MSQ right here. I mean, if you're not able to take on Sephora because of her ultimate, then that's gonna be an issue, because the moment she uses Tide of Life, she's kind of immune, for 1.7 seconds. That's more than enough time to actually reposition herself, and then at the same time, like not position itself, but you do have a little bit of time to buy enough time to actually sustain through the fight, and at the same time you do heal up your teammates. So that's a really sick hero pickup. But on the other hand, we have seen really huge Marlock ultis coming up. And the first one was the first team fight in the bottom lane, where we kind of saw we kind of saw the Marlock jump in with the ultimate, and that was a really good jump as well. He caught out the Oma, he caught out everyone that was at the bot lane except for the Roxy. So I don't think that was a bad ulti. I think it was how they kind of follow up with the fight. They dropped the Sephora down, and then they also committed the Chi down onto the bottom lane. And what that did for MSQ was that you had this 3 heroes kind of group up, and the moment that they group up, that was the go-to signal. Like Oma came in with stun, uses his ultimate. Then you also had the issue of the Crixie dropping the ultimate, which was just happy days for her. You have the Yon just dropping that Rain of Fire, and everything just went well. I think Krignon was the only one that wasn't really able to participate in the fight that much, and that wasn't even really an issue, because like I said, they just had so much CCs in that fight. And the Crixie can just drop a second skill, you knock all the 4 heroes up, and suddenly it's a really bad fight for base crew. So it looks like they're gonna resume that fight, already resume the game. MSQ is gonna, like I said before the pause, they do manage to secure that top tier 1 tower in the top lane. Now all they have to do is kind of just hold off this push coming in from the side of base crew, although bottom lane Roxy trying her best to hold off both the T as well. The Lubu, she's gonna just forfeit that tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, middle lane, a little bit of a fight coming out. Marlock, the Cleave, Omar down to 3/4 of the HP. So a little bit of clearing back and forth, while Yon's just gonna pick up that Blade of Calamity for himself. Top lane's gonna be pushed down. Let's pick up the Sentis, and that's just gonna increase that burst damage. Look at how quickly he's taking up this tier 2 tower down the top lane. Marlock does come in alongside Sephora as well, and Crixie will drop the ultimate quick. Now, thinking about it, he nearly just dived onto the back line right there, and Lubu will cut the escape off. Do they really want to fight this one out? Oma gonna be splitting the team into 2. They get the knockdown though. Marlock with the ultimate, they might be able to find the Oma. Yes, they do. And MSQ are on the run. Roxy had to clear up the middle lane, couldn't really join the fight in time. And the Gaia armor gonna be picked up by Marlock as well. That's a huge item pickup. Gonna be a lot more sustained down in the fight. But look at the burst damage that they have. Elsu caught out in the middle of the lane. So what can they do for the next 30 seconds? Because without Elsu on the map, if they want to force a fight, now is the time. Well, if I'm MSQ, I can actually just go for Darkslayer. Because I have the Yawn, I think I have enough burst damage, but they kind of disperse out onto the map. So I think safety first. They want to just farm up a little bit more. Omar just clearing up the middle of the lane, making sure that base crew aren't able to push it down. And I think this is where the next big fight is gonna come on down. It's gonna come down to this fight for the Darkslayer. And we did see Crixie just drop the move for there. I think that was really good. Oh, team with a solo kill into the Quickna. But he's just gonna come straight back into the lane. Marlock coming in, he's gonna get a jump right onto Yon as well, but they're not able to secure the kill, and that's gonna be an issue. Omar coming in, quick now jumping in the air as well. He's not really trying to go for any Q as of yet. See, dropping low, but Omar will go down. MSQ being very sloppy right here. They do lose 2 heroes in quick succession, And they do not get anyone. Lubu gonna get the red Stallion, the knockup onto Roxy as well. They are slowly tearing her down. Half HP right here. Elsu with the snipe. But not enough damage. You can kind of see how even this is for both teams right now. Lubu. Coming down into the bomb lane, gonna be pushing out that creep. And I like how dedicated, you know, this Roxy is into making sure that she's just following. Oh, you're in a little bit of trouble. And no, they will bait that T out. That was kind of a little bit of a bait. Quick knock now jumping on the back line. They want to remove the Marlock down to half HP. But Quick knock's away from the rest of the team. Marlock with the jump as well. Will pick him up with the cleave. But here comes the ultimate. They will find Yon down to one more hit. And that's going to be picked up by the Elsu. They do find the Omar as well. And finally, they get 3 members on the side of MSQ. But bottom lane getting pushed out by Roxy as well. They will get the Lubu to counter push. But more importantly, this will give them the opportunity to actually pick up the Dark Slayer. And I gotta say, that was kind of a greedy play from MSQ. Yes, they did manage to actually pick up the T, but you know she's gonna come right back up. And you know, they tried to go for the Marlock, and I think that was a really bad decision coming out from the Quick Knock. When the Quick Knock went down, they kind of just forced their way down the middle lane. They pick up 2 more kills, and suddenly things are looking bad. And this is where Elsu will go to town right now. They're gonna use that rage. Omar dropping down for the 2nd time in a row. They're gonna get that Drake pushing onto the top tower. Meanwhile, they do find Roxy down in the jungle all by herself. They're not too interested. Sephora will go back to heal up. And I can't blame base crew too much, right? And if you look at the way MSQ are playing, they have that yawn, so they definitely can, you know, turn it up and just push that wave back. They do lose the crew mark again, and like I said, MSQ, like all these sloppy plays are starting to cost them the game. They're gonna lose that Abyssal Dragon. There's no way they can kind of contest for it. Marlock dropping dangerously low, soaking up a lot of damage, but that stun comes in at the right time, and Sephora will keep the sustain going on, but do they have enough damage to actually take on the Yon? No, Yon the burst damage, the sustain coming through, but that snipe from afar. Elsu will pick him up. They get a team wipe, and there's gonna be no heroes on the map for 30 seconds on the side of MSQ. This could be GG. I mean, Quick Knock does come up. I got a little bit too excited, but I mean, what a play that was coming out from the side of base crew. They kind of forced that out. They baited the fight coming in. They spotted out the Roxy, and then they had the Lubu in front. And boy, did that Yon had so much burst damage, but that was just not enough. They got instantly wiped. And the sustain coming in from Sephora's ulti kind of allowed, you know, every single one of them to stay in the fight for so much longer. And the tide of life, man, talk about changing tides. I talked about Marlock dropping those huge CCs as well. You can see one more time the shock dropping in, landing on 4 heroes right there. And once the Omar went down, I mean, that is the only huge CC that they really have. If you think about it, they don't really have too much CC in that draft. They only have the shot coming from the Marlock, but that was more than enough. All you need is 1 huge CC from the Marlock, and that burst damage. The rest of the follow-up will come in. They did that in the first half of the game. It didn't work well because they didn't have enough damage coming from the Elsu, but now with the Elsu getting farmed up, they definitely can do that. So I mean, the other portion that we have to look at is the MSQ just playing really softly. Like, you cannot afford to just group up and just get ganked like that. You have a Quick Knock, you know, you have an Omar. You should actually just try to go for ganks, and you have a Roxy that can kind of start that fight with the ultimate. So I don't know why they're constantly trying to group up, trying to find all these huge team fights when they know they don't have the huge CC of the Shock. Yes, they have individual CCs like the Crixie's stun, they have the Roxy's ulti, but how often have you seen, you know, base crew kind of allow that happen to them? They're just playing so smartly in terms of the positioning.
A red team tower has been destroyed.
They will take that tier 2 tower down the bottom lane as well, and now can they actually push this one through? Also with the snipe. Now it's down on Crixie, bringing it down to half HP, and they are just babysitting this Drake right now. They just want to push this bottom lane as much as possible. You do see them trying to get that wave out in a row. Marlock once again following up with that shock, but they do not have that Drake, and that Marlock will fall. And now base crew said, yep, it's enough, we'll back off. Lubu's pushing up the top lane as well. Just gonna be taking out more jungle away for MSQ. Omar a little bit separated from the rest of the team. Not much to get done there. Quick Knock actually trying to go in for the re-engagement, but they do not even find Lubu. They do find the T though. And both members are dropping dangerously though. They will find two more, and this is where the yawn will pop off. This is what I talked about, the burst damage coming in. And even Elsu has to be careful about their positioning. So the way MSQ are playing right now, I feel like they are just banking in onto that duo. Like, if Crixie can get someone through the stun, especially with that, you know, Nature's Wrath, then I feel that that's how they're gonna work. They're gonna drop the Nature's Wrath. If they can find someone, then they just drop, you know, Yon's damage onto that person, hoping to just immediately remove them. Yes, it works onto the squishier heroes like Elsu, or maybe even Lubu if they can get the stun and he doesn't get Conqueror off in time. But how often have you seen base crew kind of allow that? There's not many opportunities for base crew to, or rather for the side of MSQ to actually just catch someone out like that. And they will pick up the Abyssal Dragon, but you know, the fact that that's gonna give Dark Slayer over to the side of base crew, I'm not too sure if that is actually the trade that they want. Definitely a much more even fight coming in between these two teams for now. You can kind of see this, I wouldn't say trap, but you know, this kind of like ambush on both opposite ends of the map. MSQ setting up in the top half. They do see, you do see the side of base crew on the bottom side. And I gotta say, both teams are pretty even in terms of farm right now. You do see a 4k gold lead, but that isn't too bad. That's just the Omar lacking in terms of items. And he does make it, I mean, like I said, as long as you have a stun, like I said with Crixie, you know, the fact that Omar's kit, every single one of Omar's kits got stun. You got the gut punch, you got the, you know, the swagger, you got the walking talk, and with all of that, he is still very, very useful. As long as he can provide CC against the side of base crew, I don't think that's too much of an issue. Omar jumping in the back line right now. Marlock once again with the huge CC, but he's too far away from the rest of the team. And Yon will be able to burst that T up. It's way too far from the team, my friend. And that is not a fight that you want. MSQ now on the chase. And that Drake is pushing down top lane, but they're not too worried about it. They've managed to remove these two, and I told you, if Yon is given that space, he will push down those turrets. And looks like they want to go for the GG push right there. 20 more seconds before either team will come up. Marlon once again with the huge CC, but the Roxy's there to stun up the Marlon. They try to sustain, but it's not enough. Yon will blow both of them off the map, and now Elsu's the only one remaining. The creeps have come, and Omar's just in front, soaking the damage from the Elsu. They're more than happy to keep her alive, and they will take him off the map now. MSQ will take game 1. Not the smoothest of game for them, but it is a game 1 in hand nevertheless. I mean, what a game 1 that was. I mean, look at the stats. You don't see too much between these two teams. In fact, before we kind of ended the game, Base Crew actually had more net worth, and that was just because they were just doing really decently in the starting of the first like 10 minutes. They were just clearing waves. You know, yeah, they had one really bad team fight the bot lane where, you know, the Marlock did manage to jump on the back line, but did not manage to have a follow-up because, you know, they were just getting stunned up by the Omar with the gut punch. And you saw that happening throughout the game. Like, True was just trying to drop those big shock ultimates onto the backline of MSQ, trying to catch like 4 to 5 of them out, and in most cases, more often than not, she did manage to at least catch 2 members. And the only reason why they kind of lost was because they were not able to catch that Yon out. And you know, I think MSQ did really well there. A little bit of a mispositioning coming up from Mao, who was actually playing the T, and I think that was just one bad team fight. Like one bad fight with T was just alone in the jungle, and the moment the T came in, like the moment the T actually managed to get the fight, that was just a bad turn of events. Like once the T went down, they didn't really have someone that you know had the ability to provide that physical damage. And what happened next was that, you know, MSQ were really relentless. Like, we saw that happen in the mid lane as well. When they find someone, you know, they constantly push forward. As long as Crixie can get a stun off on anyone, they drop the Yawn combo. You know, they just throw every single one on top of the victim, and they can get those kills really quickly because of the burst damage they have, because of the quick now, because of the Yawn, because of the fact that they have, you know, Roxy to stun, to lock someone down, as well as the Omar to follow up with the stun. And basically, if you're alone, you're gonna get permanent stun. So nothing too much between these two teams, 16 kills each. Net worth wise, it wasn't really too far apart. We talked about that as well. But all in all, a really well played game coming up from both teams. But it is MSQ that walk away with game 1 in hand. Congratulations to them. But we still have a second game to go, and potentially even a third, because it's going to be a best of 3. So we'll hit for a short little break. But when we are back, we'll bring you game 2 between MSQ and Base Crew. I'll see you right after that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the stream. My name's Aris, and casting inside me is absolutely no one. I'm solo casting for today, and if you have actually stayed throughout the start of the stream, you will have seen MSQ actually managed to beat base crew 1 and oh, remember, it's gonna be a best of 3, so we're gonna have to see who's gonna be the final or rather eventually the grand champions of not only the Thailand, or rather the Taiwan qualifiers, I'm sorry there, Taiwan qualifiers, but also will be representing their region to come to Singapore to participate in the FSL Elite. And looks like our draft is already underway, so let's just jump straight into it. You know, both sides are actually going to be swapping, so we're going to see MSQ now on the blue side and base crew going to be picking up on the red side. We do see MSQ with that Kriegnack ban, so that is something they definitely do not want to give over to base crew. They know how important the Kriegnack was, although I gotta say, you know, coming into game 1, the Kriegnack was kind of like an iffy pick. Maybe it would have been a lot better if they actually played to the strength of the draft. I think they had a solid draft in terms of ganking. You know, they had, you know, the Roxy with the ultimate, and then they actually could have just followed up the Kriegnack, or maybe even the Krixie or the Yon, whatever it is. I think they should have initiated with the Roxy, but for whatever reason they kind of focus a lot on team fights, which I was actually really surprised, because you know your opponents have really a huge CC, and the only way they can actually win those fights if they have those huge CCs. The fact that they needed MSQ to actually group up and Marlock to actually drop a really big shock, to drop one big CC down into the middle of the park, and that was the only way they could win. But you know, MSQ stuck through the draft. They managed to defend like what, 3 Drakes or even 2 Drakes. I remember it was 3 Drakes, so 1 in the top lane, 2 in the top lane in fact, and then 1 in the bottom lane. Although the last one was kind of like for token's sake, because they lost the T, or rather MSQ did manage to pick up the T, and then they managed to force their way to actually end the game. So that was actually well played to them. But now coming to game 2, we're gonna remove the Kriegnack and Valheim. Whereas over to the side of base crew, they're gonna be removing the Krixig as well as the Zip. So we're gonna see a net getting picked up as well, and maybe a Timmy. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see a Timmy getting picked up as well. So we do see Ross getting picked up. I think that is the one hero which I think is we haven't seen too much coming into the Taiwan qualifiers. I mean, he's just all in all a really good hero. The fact that you have the dash, you know, you have the ability to kind of push back. And I want to see how they actually utilize that, you know, that Russ, because he's kind of going to be that playmaker, kind of similar to what they had in terms of, they don't really have something like a Russ in the previous game. They had an Oma, but Oma isn't really someone that kind of ganks and surprises you like you see an Oma when it's coming towards you. The question is, do you really want to take the fight? Because you know what you're getting when you go up against an Oma. You know, he's gonna just drop a lot on stuns onto you. He's gonna force you to fight a really losing battle. But they have the teamy this time around as well, so that is something that is really good. So I think Russ will definitely work into the draft. We might see the Violet getting banned out. I mean, it is pretty obvious Liananas gets banned out as well, or we see Elsu getting taken out. So I think that it's kind of like a trend for them to actually ban all the heroes, because they don't really want too much buzz in the kit. Other than Elsu, if you look at Valheim, the Kriegnack, Lianana as well as Krixie, and Violet as well. A lot of these heroes have a lot of buzz. I mean, Krixig as well as Zip is a little bit different, because they're like 2 of the most in-buy heroes now in terms of engaging and re-engaging. So I do think that these 2 heroes definitely do deserve a ban. But in terms of the rest of the heroes that can take out a lot of these heroes, majority of these heroes have a lot of bursts, and that's something I think maybe the Taiwan servers are not too comfortable dealing with. They wanna play a lot more in terms of a drag out fight. This is what we saw for previous game. We do see a Hayate. Maybe the Hayate will get picked up. He does have Purify. We do see a couple of flashes here and there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for game 2 because I mean we're gonna see. Now is the time where, and it wasn't like game 1 was very one-sided. I think both sides stood equal chances. I think Base Crew played really well, but when it hit the late game, that Yon was just scaling way out of control. Yes, you do have that Elsu, which is a really good carry, but if you look at the draft of Base Crew, they didn't really have someone that could jump onto Yon. The only one that really had a dive per se was Marlock, and even with the Marlock diving in the backline, there was just no way they could catch up to the Marlock. There was just no way they could actually sustain the fight. So it looks like we're gonna see an Alter as well as a Hayate getting picked up on the side of MSQ. I really like this draft, although Base Crew's final draft might have to say something about that. They need someone that can actually just shake that Rust off. I think that Rust could be really hard to deal with if they're not too careful about him. So looks like we're gonna have both sides getting picked up, or rather both sides having their draft locked in for now. And remember, if you are watching, remember to do like and follow us on our social media as well. You can actually follow us on FSL on Instagram as well as Facebook page. We're also streaming on Twitch and on YouTube as well as Facebook. And you can also check out Yahoo, which is our media partner. A big shout out to them as well. And more importantly, we do see the Murad coming in, and I'm very excited for the Murad. I think that is one of the heroes that we have not been able to see coming off the Taiwan servers. Kind of banned out in the first game.
传说对决，敌军还有5秒到达战场，请做好准备。全军出击。
So finally, we will see that Murad coming out as well for now. And I gotta say that is a very surprising draft coming up for me. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say too surprising, but I don't really expect a Maja to come out. But it is the case for the side of Base Crew. They will bank in on the Maja. And the thing about Maja is that she's really good in terms of really sustaining in a fight. I think she's really good to actually deal with. I'm not sure if she's really the hero that you want to pick up. Maybe just to go against the Rust, maybe, because she has the ability to go to Ghost Walk, and that's gonna escape. But that does prevent her from getting an obvious getting picked up. And they're picking up the Rust as a mage, not really a support Rust. It's actually more of a mage Rust. So that's something that's really good. I think it's really flexible coming up from the side of MSQ. And obviously, we're gonna see base crew run with the Murad. I talked about it as well. We're gonna see a Tell on us, as well as an so the MSQ they're playing with Timmy, Darcy, Russ, Arthur, as well as a Hayate. Dalna's obviously taking a little bit of damage from Murad now, hitting that level 4. Ras running into a little bit of trouble. We right down in the middle as well. Because of that, they will be able to pick up that first Abyssal Dragon. So both sides, we haven't really seen too much of a game coming from both sides. I think Mura is just gonna pretty much farm. Not too many heroes on the map that he can kind of pick up as well. If you look at all the heroes, you know, Ras isn't really the easiest hero to catch out. Hayate is probably going to be, you know, farming really safely, just sitting under the tower, more than happy to just clear out those waves. And then you also have Arthur, which is just unkillable in the opening stage of the game. So I think that is this game is going to be pretty hard for Mura. I don't really see too much that he can actually do early game. Maybe try to pick off a straight kill to Hayate if he's out of position. In the middle lane we will go. Arthur coming in with the ultimate as well. Does dive out at the right time. Murad taking a little bit too much shots coming in from the tower. Both sides more than happy to just be able to stay alive. Darcy's siege buff is gonna run off right now. They're gonna go to the bot lane, hopefully to catch someone. But you know, Telana's just playing it so safe. She's just gonna sit right beneath that tier 2 tower, and that's just gonna give Hayate a little bit of a chance to actually do a bit of damage down to the tier 1. And Rat's gonna be clearing up that wave before he rejoins the rest of the team down bottom lane as well. They definitely want this tier 1 tower. They might be able to pick it up as well. Teamy definitely way far behind the enemy lines. Dangerously getting caught out as well. He's definitely gonna be going down. There's actually no way they can save the Teamy. He's gonna use his ultimate just to come out in time. You have that Marja just sticking up onto him like some sort of a pass. Arthur coming to the mid to clear that lane up, while the rest of base crew and MSQ are going to split up right now. Hayate definitely going to claim up that first tower down the bottom lane.
A red team tower has been destroyed.
Marja clearing up the lane with the Dark Powers, and we do see Ras coming in as well. Definitely want to go in, uses the ultimate, tries to get that Ghost Walk behind the enemy line, doesn't find anyone right there. Teamy ultimate still on cooldown, and looks like Arthur's gonna pick up that Burning Cape. So just gonna add onto his wave clear as well as sustain. In lane, while we're gonna see Hayate come to the top lane. So we're gonna have that Hayate split push every single lane while there's more contented. Even Teamy getting dived out again. Once again, ultimate being burnt before any team fight breaks out, but they are more than happy. You can see MSQ have a game plan here. They want to use the Hayate to kind of split push, and it is working out. It's making it so hard for the side of base crew to actually catch up with these rotations. Although Challenas does revive a little bit too late, the tower will still get taken up. And here comes the team fight. Raz does catch 3 members onto the backline. That's more than enough. Mura will be the first one to go down, and they definitely want to go for more. They might be able to pick up Vera, but she does get out just in time. Annette dropping really low as well, and Vera's just getting out in the nick of time. That was a little bit of a lucky moment coming in there. And MSQ, that Ras is able to pick that. I mean, that was definitely a really good engagement coming from MSQ. A golden opportunity for the Ras as well to actually just go in. And the fact that he managed to uppercut 3 members and then follow up with the power surge, and that was just insane coming in from MSQ. Brilliant individual play coming in. from Xiaomantou, and now on the top side, Teamy coming with the Hayate, just gonna be clearing up that wave, not be able to find anyone. Oh, has to be careful, diving into the backline, Teamy coming in as well, so he definitely can push this one if he wants. The Bloody Kiss will come up, but they do lose one member in MSQ. They do find the tail on us though, and that's a lot of damage going on. Russ, we only get out just in time. No, she can't. Xiaomantou will go down, but the fight is still coming on. They want that Arthur, and they will get her. So finally a good team fight coming from base crew. Really messy team fight coming out as well. I mean, all these team fights just going back and forth. Rud gets kicked out by the Russ. Explosive KO. Blows him up. The Rud will go down. And both teams 3 kills each. Negligible 1k difference between MSQ and base crew. And I was saying before that that fight kind of broke out, like you can kind of see the game plan coming out from MSQ. Like they want to have that split push, right? They want to apply a lot of pressure on the opposite lane while the team fight's happening on the other side. You constantly have this Arthur coming in, clearing up the ball wave, and then joining the rest of the teammates. And then you have the Hayate pushing on to the opposite end. So Russ trying to use that power surge just to harass a little bit. Manja taking a bit of those shots coming in, and I have a feeling we might see a team fight happen anytime soon, although Arthur's going to be breaking up, going to be focusing on pushing that bot wave. You're gonna see that Vera's kind of counter to that as well. Not counter to that, but kind of respond to that push. Arthur now down in the middle. Tries to be a hero, but Tawanas will bring him down. And Teamy kind of forced to use his ultimate as well, and they will bring him down. That's gonna be a push coming out from base crew.
A blue team tower has been destroyed.
Although you can see the top lane just getting pushed out. Like I said, you know, MSQ, they have a whole new different game plan compared to a previous game. They're not looking for team fights. They're not interested in team fights. They want to split push with the Hayate. And they are doing a good job with that. Although Dark Slayer, I don't think MSQ can contest for it. It looks like base crew does definitely have that advantage in terms of not only sustain because of the Maja, but also being able to just stick together and roam through. But they are losing out in terms of objectives. You can see the Hayate, every single time they want to respond to a push. Look at how quickly the Hayate is just taking up that tower alongside with that Darcy. But more importantly, you can see the game plan of MSQ. They know they're going to lose into a team fight, so they're just going to use the Hayate to push every single lane. And the way that base crew are answering with that is that they have to get 2 to 3 heroes to respond to one push. Like Arthur pushing down the bot lane, you gotta summon not only the Veras but also practically like 80% of the team, 4 members just to go down, just try to push out that wave. And what this does, that it buys enough time for the MSQ to push onto another lane where you saw Hayate pushing down the middle. And yes, they have the Drake coming in right now, but is it enough to even take that tier 2 tower? Yes, they get the tier 1.
Tower has been destroyed.
But I'm sure they definitely want to make more out of this Drake. Abyssal getting taken along the way as well. And now it looks like Murat will go in. Trying to use that turbulence to break up the side of MSQ. Will walk all the way to base just to heal up. And the Drake is still pretty healthy. Still half HP left on the Drake. They still want to go for more. Have to cap for the burst damage. They will blow the Drake up with the ultimate. think they are ready for a fight. He's going down as well. Arthur coming in with the ultimate. They will pick the Veras up, and Maja might be the next one. But good job coming from the net just to push all of them back with the Whirlpool. Or not the Whirlpool, but the Tornado. But Arthur's already the back line. They want to find one more. Maja will get the kill even before they can get the Murad, but they still want it. And I'm not sure if this is a fight that they want to go in. But MSQ goes in with the explosive KO, but it's not enough. And they will take him out before he claims anyone hit. And they only lose the Murad. So really well played coming up from the side of base crew, who are not only able to pick up 4 heroes or the 3 heroes. They will get the second base turret, or rather second turret, down the middle lane. Definitely a lot more organized this time round. I think the way base crew are playing, I just, you know, they would definitely want to get a lot more organized. They are looking to play to the strength, which is gonna be team fight team now. Kind of middle of his own. Murad just gonna lay a bit of damage down to half HP. They want to contest this Dark Slayer. I think if the Raz can find a good entry point, they definitely can. But this is just nearly going down. Oh, and the steal come true. They will get the Dark Slayer in the nick of time with the Darcy. And I think that wasn't even the smite. And now down in the middle lane. And this is bad. They will, not only do they have the Dark Slayer, they're just gonna put the Drake out to the top lane. And now you got Arthur now diving into the backline all by himself, doing a really good job. He's pulling away so much damage, and he's soaking up so much more. But here is where the Raz can shine. He goes in, blows one up, takes it down by himself. And Darcy will get the kill to Annette, but they do lose that Raz. And even on the brink of death, they managed to bring down the Arthur in time. They get the Raz before any considerable damage is laid. And because of that, that Drake is wasted. So despite that brilliant steal coming in from the Darcy, not able to capitalize on that fight. You can kind of see this war that's happening right now. They put the Taiwan at the back line, you know, they put the Veras as well as the net in front. The Maja same goes as well, who's a really good frontliner. We talked about Maja a lot because, you know, she does have that ghost walk, you know, she's got the dark powers. And at the same time, you know, if you combo it with the Soul Devourer, she just does a really good job at, you know, not only soaking up the damage, she's kind of like a mage tank at this point. And Murad just being so hard to deal with. Now they want to go for that push. They do manage to pick up the Darcy, which is a really big hit off, and now they get the Raz as well. And at the rate that this game goes, we might see a possible game 3. We definitely might see a game 3. Oh, Arthur, he tried to TP back to the base, but he gets stopped, and they do not have the ulti. They will try to bring the Timmy down just in time. Timmy just throwing his body on the line, but that's just not enough. And it looks like we have a game 3. Base crew, they do manage to push their way into the base, and they will get game 2 for themselves. That was a really good game 2 coming up from base crew, you know, coming back, bouncing really well off that game 1. You know, they had a really rough game 1. In fact, they were close to winning game 1, right? There were a couple of instances where you thought, okay, they might be able to win those team fights, especially with those huge Moloch ulti. But it looks like Base Crew does get that game 2 in hand. They played I think they played really well in terms of controlling the game this time around, not giving MSQ any sort of time, or rather any sort of answer to any of all those pushes they're coming from. They used the Murat really well as well to kind of zone off, and the fact that they picked up a pocket pick in Maja was something that I think even MSQ were not prepared for. I mean, that Maja was constantly in the front line, making it hard for MSQ to come in whatsoever. And the scoreline does tell a bit of a story. In the 5-16, and it does look like MSQ was just having a lot of difficulty answering to all those push that were coming out from. The fact that have the Rust coming into explosive KO but not being able to finish off even the tail Anas shows how well Base Crew was just protecting their backline, and they had the net as well, and they used the net to actually displace MSQ. Every single time you see this Hayate split pushing and he's trying to come back to the team fight, there's just so much on the hands of MSQ to deal with because of the Maja, because of the net, and it's just they were so comfortable with close combat, and they stuck to their guns. That was what they did in game 1. That's what they did in the previous game against Nike Girls. And this time around, coming into game 2, they did the same exact thing. Pick up draft that were really good in close combat. We'll pick up the Maja, we'll pick up the Veras, or we'll pick up the Annette as well. If you come close, we use the Annette to push you away. If you come even closer, you have to go through a Maja just to try, go through the Maja, go through a Veras, just to try to get onto the Tel Anas. And on top of it, we're going to pick up a Murat as well, just so we can burst down whoever's entering that battle space. So well played coming out for Base Crew. They will get game 2 away. It's 1-1, and we will definitely be heading into a game 3 to decide our champions of the Taiwan qualifiers. Once again, my name is Aries. We'll go for a short little break, but when we are back, we'll bring you game 3 between Base Crew and MSQ. Alright, we are finally into our last game of the day. It is gonna be the final game, the third game between MSQ and Base Crew. And basically, whoever wins this will be the champions of the Taiwan Qualifiers and will represent Taiwan to play in the the FSL Elite. And looks like we're gonna see MSQ go back onto the red side, so we're gonna have that, a little bit of that swap. No issues right there, but it looks like MSQ will be playing on the red side while we will see Base Crew playing on the blue. And obviously we will see MSQ ban out both the tricks, or rather the zip, as well as the Trizik. So it looks like we're gonna have a Delchan getting picked up. And we're gonna see the Maja come out as well. So once again, not the Maja, but the Owen getting picked up. Yeah, so it looks like we're gonna see the Violet this time around come back into the game. Same goes for the Cricknut. And looks like we're gonna see MSQ. They really do love that Tawana, so that's something which I gotta give them. Like Taiwan server, they play a lot of Tawanas. This is probably the second time we're seeing the Tawanas come in the Taiwan server. And we do see a Narcroft as well as Veras getting banned out on the side of Base Crew. So it looks like they don't really want to do too well with the Narcroft. I think in the previous game we haven't seen the Narcroft getting picked up on either sides yet, coming into the qualifier. So I think this is just maybe kind of like a pocket ban, something they don't want to deal with in general. And I mean, I can kind of understand, if you look at Hayate and Narcroft, it is pretty similar. So maybe they're trying to force, that they're more than happy to just give them the Hayate, because into the split push. But they've already picked up the Tawana, so we definitely will not see a Hayate getting picked up. And we will also see the Lianana as well as the Trixie getting banned out. I mean, the Quixie getting banned out is something that's really straightforward. We do see the Zephyrs as well as Zil getting banned. So, Zil, really a high amount of burst, nothing that you can really explain with. So a lot of close quarter combat, close quarter combat, or melee heroes in general. Got a little bit of tongue twister there, but a lot of heroes in that category getting banned out in general. And I think the reason why is because if you look over to the draft, or around on the draft, but the way Base Crew want to play, they don't really feel comfortable playing against all these heroes. And I mean, I can kind of understand why as well. You look at their play style, they like to play really close engagement, or rather heroes that excel really well in terms of sustain. So if they do pick up the Alistair, wow, this is something we have not seen coming up, and I do like the Alistair a lot. Alistair was actually played and banned a lot. It was like a close 80-90% pick ban rate coming into the Vietnam qualifiers. And the reason why is because I went through this. You have that he has a really good kit overall. Like his ultimate, it's kind of similar to Roxy, where you can just instantly turn the fight into a 4v5. You have a good zoning too with his first and second skill, a lot of AoE damage with the magic wool as well as the zoning. And on top of that, the fact that he doesn't really need too much to be effective in the game. He doesn't really need too much farm. As long as he hits that level 4, it's kind of like a hero that's really utility based. Utility based as in his kit gives him a lot of utility and contribution to team fights. without him picking up all those major items. So I think that is the reason why we are seeing him picked up first base crew. And looks like MSQ, not really a hesitation there, but looks like they will pick up the Lubu. So really quick draft this time round. So it looks like they will be swapping those heroes around. We do see a Lumber getting picked up on the side of Yoon. So the one hero that I think I would consider pretty surprising, I wouldn't say the Omen is surprising. I mean, Omen is pretty much a really good hero in the top lane. Although I gotta say, against the Lubu, I do have mixed feelings about that. I think Lubu should do well against the Omen, just because of his rate style as well as Impale. You know, he has that superior range compared to the Omen. So if he can actually keep his distance, he can actually just use rate style not only to clear his wave, but kind of use the Impale to actually just harass the Omen in lane. And the fact that he doesn't need mana is just a perfect hero to actually do with that top laner. And then if you look over to the side of the Lumber, I think Lumber is the one hero that I'm pretty surprised. Yes, he does have a stun, he does have a really good dash as well, but I really don't see how the Lumber can kind of fit into the draft. Yes, he's a really good hero, don't get me wrong. Like in general, I think Lumber is just a really good hero. I just don't see how the chemistry will work. So maybe it's something that they have been practicing for a while. Or maybe it's just something to actually catch the opponents off guard. Either way, we'll have to see. But remember, this is the final game. We also see the butterfly coming into play, so that is pretty interesting. And as long as the butterfly can get those resets, I think it's gonna be a disaster coming out for the side of I mean, I gotta say, base crew, if they gotta be really careful, because they have a couple of squishy heroes. If you look at that, you know, they have the Violet, they also have the Cricknock as well as the Alistar. So if they're not too careful, they can allow the butterfly to just keep resetting, and that is definitely not the not the situation they want to be in. So both sides gonna be clearing up that mid lane Lumber. Bottom doing a really good job at clearing down the mid as well, just soaking up all the damage to the front line. So a lot of OG heroes. The reason why I say OG heroes, because you know, a lot of heroes that are that were released in the earlier phase of the game. Lubu being one of them, Talon Us. You also see the Cricknock, the Violet, you know, the Butterfly, Alistar. So a lot of heroes that are in earlier seasons. That doesn't mean they're too bad. They're just something that I wouldn't expect coming off the draft. You do see the Butterfly as well, and looks like they want to get the gang onto the Violet. This is what I talked about, the squishy heroes, and they will get the first one. They do get the reset, but you know, they definitely do not want to sacrifice the Butterfly for the Lumber. So both the Omen and Lubu doing really well in their own respective lanes, or rather in the top lane. And meanwhile, we do see the Cricknock starting up the Abyssal Dragon. Look at how quickly, you know, base crew are just taking out away this jungle. And I think I haven't really given my predictions coming to this game. I have really mixed feelings about both draft, although if you know, base crew aren't too careful, I think MSQ in my books have a better draft towards the late stage of the game, because in the Daojun they have that CC, and if you look over to the side of I already mentioned the fact that they have very squishy heroes on side of MSQ, and or rather not the MSQ but base crew. So if base crew aren't too careful, I think MSQ can actually consider Butterfly as kind of like a cheese pick. You know, something that does really well against their squishy lineups. But here we see Tawanas getting ganked on himself. Lumber goes in the ultimate. Alistair gonna hold her in place. Easy gank coming down the bottom side. So base crew have to keep doing this. Like, they have to constantly just constantly gank out the bot lane. You know, make sure Tawanas doesn't really farm up. You can see Lubu use the Conqueror as well just to sustain against that Omen. And this is where I talked about it. If he can fight pretty well, he will hold his ground. But Krignan comes up, trying to get the gank onto the Lubu. Does really well to Stalin to get out of the way. Meanwhile, Tao Chan, bottom lane, trying to find a gank onto the Violet. Lumber is just doing a really good job at babysitting this Violet as well. Like, as long as Lumber sits onto the Violet, it's really hard for anyone on the side of MSQ to actually dive in, especially for the Butterfly. Bottom taking a lot of damage, gonna use that Wild Prison just to lock them in. Lubu joining into the fray as well. And now it's gonna be a 5-on-5 hit on Clash. Lumber tries to use the ultimate. Oh, that's a good stun out coming down. The Alistair coming in with the ulti, as well as the AoE damage to bring down the bottom. But it's not too big of a price to pay. I mean, they do manage to... They don't really lose too much. Although they might lose the bottom lane because of the missing... because they do lose the bottom, they can actually apply pressure on the bot lane. And you can see, you know, Lumber is just making sure Tawana stays away from the wave. And that's gonna allow them to pick up that tier 1 tower on the bot side.
Has been destroyed.
还想往哪逃？魔龙科尔德已被击败。
Now coming into the middle lane. Both sides definitely just playing it really safely. Don't want to lose the lead that you have. And as of now, it is base crew with that 2k goal lead. They're setting up a trap right here about them. Now setting up the prison. They will get the kill onto the Krignan. No, they don't. They get the Wild Prison off just off in time. They will not get the kill onto the Krignan. But now the second target is Omen. Gets the sustain. But Lubu is there. Sticks right onto him. Gets the flash on. Lumber stuns him up. And Lubu just gets too far away from the rest of the team. But they are more than happy to give up the Lubu for the middle tower. And MSQ, they got the job done. But they do lose the Lubu. That is the Sanctis coming up for the Butterfly. Number now gathering down the middle lane. They're trying to force their way down the mid, but they are aware of the Tawanas at the top side. Really huge wave pushing in. Rank Breaker coming up on the Krignan. That's gonna add a little bit more burst. Not that the Krignan lags burst already from the kit, and Omen's gonna be split pushing down the bottom lane. I think if the Lumber can get onto the Dao-chan and actually stop her before she kind of pulls any of the stun off like that, that might be an issue. Oh, they drew the stun out and she goes to the back line. Oh, that is sneaky. They actually took the Lumber to actually take up the stun for the Dao-chan, and they want the backline, and they will get the stun off as well. Alistair just outside the Wild Prison, and they get the second kill onto the Butterfly. Everything is going right for base crew right now. They bait out the Dao-chan stun, they go onto the backline with the Krignan, they get the kill, and now they want more. They burst down the bottom as well with the Violet. And all of this time, the Omen is just pushing down the bot lane, so it's not like it's not like a fair fight. It's like they're just making things work with this 4-man rotation that they have. And now they're gonna pick up not only the Dark Slayer, but they most likely will drop the Drake down the top side, and then probably try to split push onto either the middle or bottom lane. So yeah, they will drop the Drake down the top side. But man, that was a really ingenious play coming out for the side of base crew. Getting the kill into Delchan, and now they're trying to get the kill to the backstep coming from Wildfly. That's not enough. Meanwhile, Lubu and Omen trying to fight it out in the middle, but Lubu just too far away from the rest of the team, took too much damage from the Omen even before the team could get to him. And he has to be careful. Yes, he does have Conqueror, but if they can get a stun to Lubu, then it doesn't really matter. Because even in Conqueror mode, if you don't get any hits off, you don't get the sustain that Lubu needs to stay in the fight. You don't get the sustain that he needs to, make the whole kit work.
Team tower has been destroyed.
And they're gonna push down both lanes, down the middle and top. Daochan getting a good catch off onto the Violet. That's gonna delay the push for a little bit. Now Lubu with the red stallion once again all by himself. He gets caught up by Alistar and looks like they're just gonna sacrifice Lubu just to push away the wave. And I'm not sure if that's worth it, but it's the best that MSQ can do for now. 5v4 base crew pushing down the middle. And I think one more hit from the Violet should do the trick. And she's just gonna roll for one more to get the middle turret. And now they're gonna focus onto the top side. Quick knock now in the air, looking for someone to pounce on. But they don't even need to do it. Look at that base crew. They are very objective base. We've seen that coming into game 1. They tried to do that in game 2. A little bit of a misplay. I would say a mismatchup. And now they are back to their mojo. Butterfly still too early in the game for her to have any impact. The only way I see MSQ coming out of this is if they can delay the game long enough for the Butterfly to get fed and maybe get 1 or 2 more major items before she does start to pop off. But for now, every single time she wants to go in, there's always the threat of Alistar's ulti, there's always the threat of Lumber, sitting on top of the Violet, the crit now having the ability to burst the Butterfly, but there's just too much threat to the Butterfly. And I gotta say, it's only towards the late game. If they can pull this to like the 15-20th minute mark, then maybe they will stand a chance. But at the rate that this game is going, it doesn't look like base crew have intentions of allowing them to delay the game. So the Quick Knight's probably gonna pick up the... Oh no, they're gonna give it to the Violet, they're gonna give the buff to the Violet, drop the Drake down in the bot lane, and then try to stack a couple more crits before they do go for the final push down box. And I gotta admit, I really don't see MSQ being able to hold this wave. I thought that if they had a battle early game, then maybe things would change. But now even Lubu's on the run, Lumber is gonna lock him down. He has Conqueror active, but she's got no way to even fight back. And once again, another gank coming out of 0-4. This has been a nightmare for not only Lubu but the entirety of MSQ. And now they are stacking up the waves. 2 waves now coming up for the Drake. And it is 13 more seconds before the Lubu comes up, so the Lubu might not even make it in time for the bottom tower. Yes, they won't. And now the Lumber's now pushing up. They get the stun on bottom. Might just go down right here. Omen's on the front line. And they're forcing their way through this. Too much burst. And it is going to be base crew that walks away with game 3. And they are your Taiwan champions. They will represent Taiwan in the upcoming FSL Elite in March. And they will be coming to Singapore. I mean, what a game this has been, and you gotta give props up to MSQ. They tried to delay the game, but I gotta say, even though the Lubu was kind of a decent pick, I would say, against the Omen, there were a couple of questionable plays coming from the Lubu. Like a couple of times where she was just diving onto the back line, trying to cut those waves, trying to buy space, but those every single time you die, you lose time. Like you're not being able to farm up. And yes, your team did manage to pick up the middle tower, but that was the only death that I saw coming from Lubu that was kind of worth it. I think we didn't see too much coming into the middle game where Lubu was able to actually sustain on his own, because he was just constantly getting bursted down, and every single time it looked like to be a fair draw. I think I would say, you know, base crew just reacted faster coming to the Omen's rescue as compared to the rest of MSQ coming to the Lubu side, where you would constantly see, you know, it would constantly be a 1v1 between the Lubu as well as the Omen, and every single time, you know, both heroes were low, you would see base crew rushing to the Omen's aid before the rest of Lubu's team are even close to him. So it's constantly, you know, Lubu just dying first, and this just creates a very tough situation for MSQ to fight with, because it's a 4v5, and every single time it's a 4v5, you definitely know that, you know, base crew are gonna win, because they have higher amount of CCs, the Lumber's ulti, they have Alistair's ulti, you know, they have the Omen to actually lock down someone, with the Nightmare. They also have Violet, so they have a really good mixture of CC and burst. And yes, I did, you know, point out that Butterfly is a really good pick against this draft, because, you know, if they can go to the late game and get the Butterfly popping off, then yes, a couple of ultis, a couple of resets, and those backstabs can get the Butterfly off. She can just burst down the side of base crew. But that early game, like the way it all came down to game management. I think base crew just knew the pick of the game, as in the pick of their heroes. When all of their heroes hit level 4, they knew what kind of fights they could take. They knew, you know, how to actually rotate and, you know, find the right fights. And you gotta say, well played to base crew. You know, they slipped up in the second game over the first game, but they came back with a reverse sweep, and that was just splendid coming from base crew. Really well played. And with that being said, congratulations to base crew once again. You know, not too bad coming from MSQ, but they are working with runner up. But it is base crew who are your Taiwan champions from the qualifiers, and they will be representing their region to come down to Singapore on the in March. And the dates are gonna be from 5th to 6th March held in Singapore, you know, and they're gonna be joining the Vietnam champions. We still have the Thai qualifiers as well as the combined qualifiers between Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, as well as Philippines. So remember to, you know, look out for that in the upcoming weeks. If you want to find out more about FSL and how the FSL circuit works, you can find us on Facebook as well as Instagram. That's where all our details are. You can catch up with the rest of the matches as well. And once again, a big shout out to our sponsors: Dreamcore as our PC sponsor, Super Solid our monitor sponsor, Yahoo is our media partner, and last but not least, Aftershock as our hardware sponsor. And with that being said, a big shout out to you guys as well who have been staying patient with us and watching Tron entire stream. My name's Aries. I hope you enjoyed my casting as well as those games. But it is the end for me, and next time I'll see you, it will be another qualifier. I will see you very soon.